Hi everybody, this is Lainey from Hilltop Home Place. Today I wanted to talk about something that's kind of dear to my heart. I've told you before that my husband and I like to go riding sometimes, and we go down country roads, and we have just enjoyed to death watching corn get planted and grow, and then now it's all being harvested. It's been kind of fun for us to watch that because we never lived in an area before that was so agricultural. But as I've been riding, I have started to notice something else. And it's just things that I probably have seen many times. I just took them for granted, I guess. It wasn't until I lived up here that I started realizing they're everywhere. And what I'm talking about is buildings, which I call cinder block buildings. Now, I live in what used to be the big dairy belt in Louisiana and parts of Mississippi. And so that leads to the fact that there are a lot of cinder block buildings around here because a lot of the dairymen use those buildings. I guess, well, they put them up near the road, and so that was where their cows would come actually be milked. And I guess they were near the road because it was convenient for the milk trucks to come pick up the milk from there. They didn't want to have milk trucks driving all the way to the back of their property, so they had a lot of them near the road. So as a result, when I go riding, my husband and I see them, I've started to just fall in love with them. These structures amaze me because of their staying power. They're still here after all these years. The farms might be gone, the people might be gone sometimes. Sometimes they're not, but they might be for a different use now. Or they might still be a dairy farm, but they're not the main building anymore. That farmer has other buildings now to supplement those structures that he used to have. But whatever the story is, and I don't know all the stories, I still like to look at them. I still tell my husband, I'll nudge him and say, there's one, and he knows what I'm talking about. I love lots of things. I love little wooden buildings too. I love to see barns out in a field that are kind of deserted, but they're still there. I love to see fireplaces that the house is gone, but the fireplace is still standing there, just out in the field or near the road. I love a lot of things like that. I love small houses in general, places where people live that are small. I've always been a lover of little small, cute cottage type houses. But another thing that I've discovered I love is cinder block buildings. So just come with me on this little nostalgia trip and just let's look at some of them. Let's look at the ones that I managed to find in one day. And these are the ones I could see from the road. I know there's many more that are near their houses for other purposes besides milk stations. And I know there's some gorgeous ones out there. But here's what I found today. Let me give you a little bit of backstory on the construction of these things, just a little bit, nothing boring. And then we're just gonna go in and look at them. Y'all come on. Concrete blocks are pure concrete, which means they're made out of an aggregate of stone and sand. And they are more structurally sound than a cinder block. It's because of that pure concrete. It makes them a little more heavier, and the walls that are built with true concrete blocks will last about 50 to 100 years, which kind of outlasts the cinder blocks, which cinder blocks are actually made of cinder. I never really knew that, but they're made from the cinder or the ash from either concrete or coal or wood. It's in the makeup of those cinder blocks. But because of that, they can get a little more water soluble and they can have more pest problems. And so cinder blocks may not last as long as the concrete blocks. But both are lighter than bricks, and they're chosen a lot for different reasons, and especially in commercial construction these days. Oh, and by the way, no matter if they're cinder blocks or if they're concrete blocks, I call them cinder blocks. When I see these structures, I say, oh, there's another little cinder block shed. That's what I call them. So everything I say in this video is going to say cinder blocks. I don't call them concrete blocks. There's many modern concrete products that you can use to make buildings. Some of them look just like the old cinder blocks, and some of them are all different shapes and sizes. That's a whole new realm of the concrete blocks that are used these days. I love the old cinder block buildings. And some of these may even be concrete blocks because concrete blocks do have more staying power and they will last many years. So I might be looking at a building that's a concrete block, but I'm still going to call it a cinder block. That's just my jargon, that's my lingo, that's what everybody around here calls things like that. So if you hear me say cinder block, Just know it could be either one, but that's what I love to call them. Concrete or cinder blocks, either one, are pretty standard things. They can be duplicated all across America. So you can take that same construction product and throw up a Chevron station, a Winn-Dixie, a McDonald's, a Burger King, a car wash. A lot of these buildings we see all across America are made of cinder blocks. Now, they're not near and dear to my heart like the structures that I'm fixing to show you in the rest of this video. They're just a standard building material that's chosen by these corporations because they need to have this McDonald's and that McDonald's and the next McDonald's look the same. The Winn-Dixies need to kind of look the same. So they want to have products that can easily be accessed all across America. But it's not these stores, these buildings that I want to focus on today. It's the little one-of-a-kind buildings that are found rurally all across America, in towns, and even in cities. Their beauty is just one of a kind. Those are the ones I want to look at today. These structures that have a story. Sometimes you can't even really see them. They're there. They've been there for so long that the bushes are growing up around them. Trees might even be coming out of the roof. The roof might not even be there anymore. So many times I've seen these buildings and the roofs have collapsed, but the walls are still there. The walls are standing, loud and proud. Structurally, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know if these things can be saved after so many years, but I have a feeling that as long as the correct bracing is done, that as long as the correct engineering is done, I think you could probably save a lot of these buildings and keep them in use. But when you look around, a lot of times, there's nothing else around. The house is gone. The farm might be gone. It's just vacant land a lot of times. And then these structures that refuse to leave until they're bulldozed down. They're just not going anywhere. When I was looking up a little information on concrete and cinder blocks, it said that concrete blocks can withstand 200-mile-per-hour winds and are very, very good to protect from storms. So it makes me wonder sometimes if, back in the day, what I refer to as cinder blocks were really concrete blocks, because some of these buildings have just refused to move after many, many decades and many, many storms down here in the South. They've just refused to move. They're not going anywhere. I love it. I'm not by nature an overly curious person. I'm really not. But I can't help it when I see old structures like this just sitting alone, whether it's out on a rural road or even if it's in a city, if it's like a gas station or something like that. I just can't help but wonder, what was it like in its heyday? What was it like when there was a farmer, a rancher, a dairyman that came to this structure every day and used it and had tools and supplies in it and drove animals in and out of it in their order every day to get milked? Or maybe it was just a machine shop for some of these farmers where they would bring things when they needed to fix them. I just always wonder about the story. Who lived there? Were they married? Did they have a lot of children? Did any of the children show any interest in becoming what their dad was, doing what their mom did? Did they? After they were out of school, did they leave the farm? Did they not want to ever come back? I just always wonder about things like this. A lot of times I wonder, why didn't it get sold? If none of the children wanted to come back and run the farm, why didn't it get sold? Was that the end of a generational farm? I just wonder. I like it when I see farms that are still in use, even if the buildings aren't front and center as they used to be. Some of them I saw on my drive, they were just storing four-wheelers in them. Some of them had boats pulled up under them. But that's okay. They're still being used and appreciated. I love it when I see one that's had a new roof put on it, or maybe a little paint job. I like that because it shows me that somebody's still around. Some of these are situated kind of near a house, and you can see that someone still lives there, even if they may not be full-time farming anymore. But a lot of them are off on their own, and the house might be gone. There's nothing around, and they're just sitting there. And I always wish, man, I wish I could own that. I wish I could take that and fix it and put a new roof on it so that the weather's not getting inside anymore, and seal it up. And it would just be beautiful. It would be beautiful. That's just my dreams, because I do like to take things and make them pretty and decorate them. But I'd be just as happy if somebody just took it and made it, structurally sound, and made a good tool shed out of it. Even brought cows in and out of it again. That's what it was for. That's what it was created for. So I'd love it to see them go back to that use. You can't acknowledge the use of these structures in rural areas without also noticing and appreciating their use in the cities and towns, probably all across America. Around here, you see lots of little old gas stations that are made of cinder block, and a lot of them are abandoned now. I love it when there are towns that'll convert everything to antique shops and gift shops and on, but a lot of these little towns don't. They just don't have the infrastructure. The buildings are in too bad of shape. It's just really, really sad. And I was thinking when I was looking at some of these yesterday that the ADA laws, which is American Disabilities Act, I understand all the reasons for all of that. And I'm the wife to a husband who, if we do go places like this, has to be in a wheelchair. So I completely appreciate the ADA laws. But I think that that is what has made some of these buildings just simply not usable anymore. They don't comply. They don't comply with a lot of the laws. The ones that are in the downtown areas, they just simply don't comply. And it would cost too much to get them to comply to accommodate all disabled people. And it's really a shame. And I wish sometimes there could be exemptions for this so that some of these buildings that are located in the downtown areas can be used. A lot of things have just gone out of business because simply the roads have expanded and there's no parking. The roads go right up to the door fronts on a lot of old buildings now, and there's just simply no parking. And a lot of times it's just simple reasons. The owners died, no one bought it out from them, the heirs didn't want it, and the doors closed. Sometimes it's as simple as that. I had mentioned earlier that a lot of these buildings are located at dairy farms. It was ironic that we went to Franklinton, Louisiana yesterday and stumbled upon the old remains of the Dairy Farmers of America building. It's a huge building with all kind of outbuildings, but most of it is built out of white cinder blocks, just like on a lot of the dairy farms that we saw. This building is completely abandoned. It is not in business anymore, and it is kind of very sad to look at it because this used to be such a thriving industry in our area, but it's completely empty now. I don't know if they built something better somewhere else, but I don't think so. I hope you've enjoyed looking at these pictures of these just, to me, to me, they're just absolutely gorgeous structures. I hope that if you have one on your property, or if there's one that you have access to that someone would let you fix up, I'm just hoping that people will really start trying to take care of them and keep them alive, use them. I think all houses and all buildings do better when they're being used. You would think that would deteriorate them quicker, but it actually keeps them alive. It keeps them going, and we have to use them and maintain them. I love these things. I would love to hear about any that are in your area, or what kind of buildings do you have in your area that just take your breath away when you see them. I'd love to know about them. I think it's so wonderful that some of these buildings are still in use, like this one here. It's still going. This one here is a working dairy, and I've had the pleasure of going to visit this dairy. I hope that over time the dairy industry will come back in Louisiana and in the whole United States just kind of reform to where it's not all so consolidated. But whatever these sheds are used for, wherever they are, I just hope people appreciate them and take care of them. I'm saving the last picture to show you of my favorite one on my little trip yesterday. If you paint something a beautiful shade of green, I'm in. I love green. That's my favorite color. And I loved this one when I came across it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please appreciate old structures before they're gone. And let's make cinder blocks great again. This is Lainey from Hilltop Home Place. Thank y'all so much for watching. Bye-bye.